let's start with Geeta Dhyana. O Bhagavad Gita, by which Arjuna was illumined by Lord Krishna himself, and which was composed of 18 chapters within the Mahabharata by the ancient sage Vyasa. O Divine Mother, destroyer of rebirth, who showers the nectar of oneness upon us. O Bhagavad Gita, my affectionate mother, on thee I meditate. All the Upanishads are the cows. The milker is the cowherd boy, Krishna. Arjuna is the calf. People of purified intellect are the drinkers. And the milk is the supreme nectar of the Gita. My salutations to the Lord, who is the source of supreme bliss, whose grace makes the mute eloquent and the crippled cross mountains. Hari Om Tat Sat. Okay, here's where we ended yesterday. This shloka. He sees, she sees, who sees all actions, who sees that all actions, sorry. I skipped ahead. We will cover that.
Oh.
Please forgive.
Thank you.
Oops. Wherever a being is born, whether unmoving or moving, know thou, O best of the Bharata, that it is from the union between the field and the knower. So, dear Umadevi, a few days or so ago, you had a conversation with Theo. Theo, thank you for being here. We can talk about you with you here. Only love, Theo. So, and Theo talked with you about, she just wanted to help, and she was doing this with her finger, and then
She chose me.
she was in you. So do you see that as union?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then a being, wherever a being is born, know that whether moving or unmoving, this too. Know it as from the union between the field and its knower. So the I comes into union. Constantly the knower is coming into union with the field. So any being that appears, that pops up, know it as the union between the field and the knower of the field. So if you know this, then you'll know that the knower of the field, the I, the great I, Purusha, is everywhere here. All of these are its eyes, its noses, and its, or you could say mine if you go all the way up, and it's not ego talking, and it's not even the intellect talking, as it were. But you can say all of these are mine. This is, our dear Shiva Das loves to lead the chant. Song of Will, is it Song of Will?
Yes.
Yeah. Bhagavad Krishna. So, you see? Here, let me take just a second. What page is it on? You know, right?
Yes, 35 or 36.
35 or 36, okay. So 36, Song of Will. Here's where he starts. I am neither body nor mind, immortal self am I. I am not this body is not mine. I am not this mind is not mine. I am not this prana is not mine. I am not these senses are not mine. And then, I am Atman in all beings, apple of all eyes. I am sun of all suns, light of all lights. I am Pranava of all Vedas, Brahman of Upanishads. I am silence in forest, thunder in all clouds. and velocity in electrons, motion in silence, in science, I am effulgence in the sun, wave in the radio, etc., etc. Om. Om. So this I constantly coming into union, as it were, with the field. And so all of these beings here, wood beings, atom beings, steel beings, Hari beings, coffee beings, or coffee beans. Oh, okay, we're moving. You know, if you know that, if you really know that, you can't get lost here. Huh? You'll always know where you are and who you're with.
Never alone.
Never alone. Okay, continuing. He sees, who sees the Supreme Lord existing equally in all beings, the unperishing within the perishing. So, same point, yes? So we can say seeing deeply. Because he who sees the same Lord equally dwelling everywhere does not destroy the self by the self. He goes to the highest goal. So who can say small s, large s? Who can say the self by the self, that first self, small s, large s?
Small.
Listen again. Listen carefully. Because he who sees the same Lord equally dwelling everywhere does not destroy the self by the self.
Oh.
First S, capital, second S, small. So he gets out of his way, as it were. Right? Gets the self, the person, the baggage, the little s, the desires, the wants, the needs, the desire to be seen and to be known and to be understood and to find happiness here and all of this. He does not destroy the self. Now, the capital S self can't be destroyed, but can we relate to what's being shared?
It can be veiled.
But it can be veiled. And so in so doing, when we've veiled it, then is it fair to say we've destroyed our view of it?
Oh.
We've destroyed our awareness of it. No. So, because he who sees the same Lord equally dwelling everywhere does not destroy the self by the self, he goes to the highest goal. So, commentary here. Beautiful commentary from Swami Venkatesananda. Sama, there's that word again, sama. This is where he starts, sama. We remember? We talked last night again, sama, di. So that's that word, sama. Sama has been translated equally. He's giving the translation. But samely, this is another word he's using to express. So sama has been translated as equally. But samely would express it better. Equally suggests quantitative similarity. Sameness is much more than quantitative or qualitative similarity, for it expresses identity. Some philosophers hold that this sameness has in part been transformed into the visible diversity, though they assert that the substratum of this diversity is the same. The fundamental hydrogen atom has combined and recombined to produce the various elements, but it is clear that this reversible process suggests that the reality of matter is the simple hydrogen atom, if that is the ultimate material particle which cannot be further reduced, he says. So it might sound unapproachable in a way. he's giving again this scientific example. He's saying some would say that in fact this world is diversity, but underlain by a common substratum. And then he uses the example of science to say, but that can't be so. Because he says what we see in the world is that actually everything, if you go to the smallest particle, before you get to energy, right? The scientists have smashed the atom, and they see that what seemed to be smaller particles are actually energy or waves, right? Yeah. Okay. So if you get to the smallest particle, he's saying that smallest particle is the hydrogen atom. And that hydrogen atom, which is one proton, one electron. So that's the simplest atomic structure. And he says that same simplest atomic structure is also the basic building block of every other particle. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So every other particle is nothing other than a hydrogen atom, appearing as this or appearing as that. In the same way, what he's describing is that all of this, since the substratum is the underlying reality of it, whatever you see everywhere is the substratum. Whatever is the basic building block of this world, whatever it comes from, whatever was the egg, just as the hydrogen particle is the egg in the physical realm, as it were, it's just an example being used to help to grasp it with the intellect. Then the smallest particle, as it were, or the smallest seed, which is formless, Purusha, is also what's being seen here. Appearing is this, and appearing is that. Okay, he continues. Another view is that this diversification of the one, this complication of the simple, is only appearance, not real. The sameness has not actually been transformed into the diversity, but only appears to be so. What exists is just one thing, like space. There is infinite diversity that seems to exist in space merely because we think in terms of diversity. Merely because we're looking out and this intellect is parsing. It's dividing up. But what it's dividing can't actually be divided. In the same way that space can't be divided. Right? Because it is the substratum. Subtler than space itself. So it can't actually be divided, but it's possible to relate to it in a way where it appears to be divided. It seems to be divided.
Is that one the example in Raja Yoga Pantanjali says Prakriti is the substratum because the substratum exists in all of nature.
Prakriti is not independent, but Prakriti is born of substratum, meaning that it has no reality other than substratum. In the same way as if you were really born of a physical father and mother, just accept for a moment that, throw all of this spirit stuff out the window and say, okay, I am a physical being. I have no spiritual reality whatsoever. I am not soul. I have imagined myself to be all of this time. I am just this human animal, this physical flesh and bones, just like the scientists might say, consciousness, I don't understand it. It's just random. It just came to me somehow. Yeah. And so I am this. And if you take that view for a moment, then where did I come from? I came from my father and mother. So if what I said is true, then my father and mother are the entire extent of my reality.
What about theirs?
From their father and their mother.
Okay, yeah.
If it's true that I'm a physical being, you see it?
No other possibility then, in that case.
Yeah. Then I am my father, mother.
Yeah,
I am my father, mother. I am the union between those two.
the truth.
Yeah. So if you accept that, then you go all the way back. And you say, well, how did the first one, how did Adam come?
Exactly.
Singularity. You'll have to say that. Because apparently he just appeared one day.
Oh.
Maybe the union between two apes.
Where did he come from? The first.
And where did the apes come from? And you go all the way back and you get to the protozoa.
Yeah. Single cell.
Some single cell being that somehow just magically appeared because of some union of matter. It's fine, it's fine, it's fine. But you see, you are what you are made of. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
You are what you're made of. You're not something independent. You can't get away from the fact that you are what you're made of.
Yeah.
Whatever you're created of, you are. And since you are created of absolute consciousness, then you are absolute consciousness. And since everything here is created of absolute consciousness, then everything here is
Yeah.
absolute consciousness, you see.
Sameness.
So what of this diversity? That's just a question of how deeply you're seeing what's here. Right? Does that resonate?
Superficially.
Yeah, it appears to be this. It seems like this. But if you see deeply, you see, wait a second, it is what it's made of.
Yeah, back it all the way up. Yeah.
If you back it all the way up, you have to get there.
Right.
Darwin got there.
Mm-hmm.
He just didn't go far enough.
That's it. Cheers.
And that's what happens with us, by the way. We just don't go far enough. We get to a place, we seem like, okay, that seems satisfactory now. But it's not. We can't accept it, so we keep going deeper. And it's this urge to keep going deeper that is the mother, father of the sages, you know. Yeah, of the saints and sages, of all the ones who go all the way. And it turns out ultimately we have to go all the way because we can't be satisfied otherwise. So everything here then has to be what it's made of. Appearing as something else. This is the point that's being made.
Mm-hmm.
Appearing as something else, right? Ultimately it has to be. Because he who sees the same Lord equally dwelling everywhere does not destroy the self. By the self, he goes to the highest goal. Really, he's already there. Yeah, but imagines, is caught up in this limited view. That, of course, this limited view exists within Prakriti. Every view exists within Prakriti. I don't mean absolute perspective, but every idea is here, every thought is here, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Every notion is here, every desire is here, isn't it? Everything is here, the potential for everything, but then that's okay. But is the thing independently a thing?
No, it's part of the whole.
Emptiness. Concept of emptiness.
Yeah, the concept of emptiness, it's empty of separation. Yeah. It's empty of separation. It's empty of the ideas, the notions, etc., etc. They're just that. They're ideas, they're notions. Who has these ideas and notions? Whose ideas and notions are they?
The intellect.
No, go deeper. Whose father, mother is the intellect? Who is the father, mother of the intellect?
Soul.
You have to keep going until you go no further.
I.
And that takes you to I. And it takes you to Purusha, I. So, whose ideas are these?
Oh.
It's just like
Every
knowledge.
single one of them.
Well, it's a paradox.
It's a seeming paradox.
Yeah.
So whose dream is this? It's God's dream. And where's God? Right where I am.
Mm-hmm.
And everything's here. And so at one level, if you take yourself to be this individual idea or this individual piece of flesh or this individual desire, or if you honor this individual desire, individual piece of flesh, or if you walk around seeing only individuals, then it doesn't change who you really are, because you're still of your father, mother. Right? You're still absolute spirit. It doesn't change who you are, but then you're allowed to live a life as if you were not what you are. So,
Swamiji, I'd rather live a life of knowing who I am.
oh,
Quite frankly.
okay, one more. We'll introduce, because we're going to close shortly here this one. Thank you for saying that. Thank you for speaking that out. Yeah. Ultimately, if we know what that means, then everyone would say, I would rather live a life knowing who I am. If we know what that means. If we know what that means.
Right.
Yeah. Right? Yeah.
It's so empowering.
Unless you
Oh.
just scratch the surface, then it's just scary.
Well, yeah. Jesus and okay, we'll close with this. Jesus has been coming into awareness this morning. One, Krishnadas, you'll love this. I had there was this beautiful laughter this morning. I don't know, 3 or something like that. Just in a dream state or something, which was, I and the Father are one. It kept coming back. I and the Father are one. Of course, Atman and Brahman are the same. He wasn't saying I, as in it's some individual, and the Father are one. He says the I, and the Father are one. It's just a great statement of Vedanta. Shankaracharya saying Atman and Brahman are one. I and the Father are one.
I and I. Same thing.
Same
I
thing.
and I.
Same thing.
Yeah.
I and the Father are one. Everybody can say this.
I
And
am.
by the way, Jesus took his entire ministry to say, no, you're not different from me. You're capable of everything that I do and more.
In more. Yes,
Huh?
that's what he said.
And more. So, in the Gospel of Thomas, and this is one of the Nag Hammadi, the lost, he says this. He says, ask, and it shall be answered. Knock, and the door shall be opened. Seek, and ye shall find. At first ye shall be disturbed.
Oh, yes.
And then amazed. And then find yourself ruling over all. Find yourself as the observer, the permitter, the substratum, the enjoyer. Great Vedanta, Jesus. Okay. All right, so we should close for the morning. Here, I'll just read the next sloka, and then tomorrow morning we'll pick it up. He sees, who sees that all actions are performed by nature alone, and that the self, capital S self, is actionless. And again, this is relationship between field and knower of the field, Purusha and Prakriti. They're in relationship, they're dancing together. We'll come back and explore. He sees, who sees that all actions are performed by nature alone, and that the self is actionless. The I is actionless. Okay. So we'll close. Final prayers in RT 174. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandim Pushtivardhanam Orvai Rukneva Bandhanan Mritor Mukshiyamamritat Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandim Pushtivardhanam Orai Rukuneva Bandanan, Mritor Mukshiyam Amritat, Om Trayambakam Yajamahe, Sugandim Pushti Vardhanam, Orai Rukuneva Bandanan, Mritor Mukshiyam Amritat, Om Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu, Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu, Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu, Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha, Sarve Shantu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashanto, Makashi Dukhabhag Bhave, Asato Ma Satgamaya, Tamaso Ma Jyotir Gamaya, Mritor Ma Mritam Gamaya, Om Purnamida Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. O adorable Lord of mercy and love, salutations and prostrations unto thee. Thou art omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient. Thou art Satchidananda. Thou art existence, knowledge, and bliss absolute. Thou art the indweller of all beings. Grant us an understanding heart, equal vision, balanced mind, faith, devotion, and wisdom. Grant us inner spiritual strength to resist temptation and to control the mind. Free us from egoism, lust, anger, greed, hatred, and jealousy. Fill our hearts with divine virtues. Let us behold thee in all these names and forms. Let us serve thee in all these names and forms. Let us ever remember thee. Let us ever sing thy glories. Let thy name be ever on our lips. Let us abide in thee forever and ever. On Blue Sakar Shivananda Maharaj Geeta, and for all the saints and sages of all the traditions. Okay, let's rise for our